Well, kids, welcome to another episode of Rim Shots with Sean right here in the Rock Rage Radio Network. We're going to call it the do-over edition because we tried to get this done the other night, and internet being sometimes what it was, it didn't allow us to do it. So with me, I have my new friend, Aaron G Beebe, introduced to me by the lovely mutual friend Raquel. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So I want to start this because nobody will know this, but I want to start this the same way I started it the other night. So what she sent me is Against All Odds, a remarkable journey of Aaron G. Beebe. Aaron G. Beebe's story is one of reinvention, resilience, and an unrelenting belief that dreams are just steps away from reality. And I thought I'd like to start that there because you were a guy who was a mover and shaker. You did a lot of things. You had a lot of contacts. You had a wonderful network of people. And then frustration kind of had you pack it all in and decide to not do it anymore. And now you're back, as one would say, everybody loves a comeback. So talk a little bit about that. Unpack some of that for us.
Yeah, so basically my background started in like promotion uh artist promotion or event promotion and management. And so I found back before Facebook, or when it started Facebook and social medias and stuff, there was MySpace and stuff. And then so when MySpace started, I had met different people on there. And I met a friend of mine who lived in New York, and she worked for Paris Hilton's shoe line, and so I got a job through that through MySpace, just randomly. And then me and her became really good friends, and I became friends with all of her, and that was like almost 20 years ago. And so, and then I went into like artist management and event promotion, and so I chose to what I found being in the industry was that it was hard. There was out of sheer frustration. It's about networking, who you know, your talents. I'm not a musician, but I have a pretty good ear. I've worked a lot of festivals, a lot of reggae, digital, all different types of festivals. And so what happened as I went along was I found that it was hard to get the right contacts to create the events, to get in contact, to get people in contact with the right people. And that was before, it was like right when my Facebook started going. And so now Facebook has, and the social media platforms have escalated that so you can network a little bit more. But I've noticed that even with that, it's hard. You don't really get answers back all the time unless they've set up, if they got 1 million followers, how often are they really going to get back to you? So you can still get to the contacts, but it's not that relevant. Like it's not like accessible. Not, I guess the right word is accessible. And I think as a new artist or a new talent model, whatever you have, your talent is, photographer, um, you still need to have access to the real people, at least being able to. So when you're ready at that point in your career where you want to go after a record label or you want to start submitting stuff and you want to be able to take control of your own career. And that's kind of how I started the Gonna Happen platform all those years ago. And that's what it would have been. It would have been like the Eventbrite, at that, it's kind of like that, except for the new platform has a database that has a lot of that in there already. And then we'll be adding to it and all that stuff. And so, out of sheer frustration and out of a passion project, after I self-funded it uh, back then, I just got so frustrated, like a lot of artists and people in it, because there's a lot of talented artists out there, but sometimes they're like, I don't want to say like haters. I like to say like people just don't give you the right opportunity, right? And so after you've been going and going, you've put so much work into it and it just fails, and then you try again and it fails, and you try again. After 20 times that, you're like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean? And even when you have like a large network of contacts from all types of people, and I just networked it through partying and being their friends and their family and meeting, just being a real person to them. And so that's how I've kind of networked, and it's just a natural talent for me. And so that's kind of why I had, stepped out and why the project didn't work out because it just crushed me inside so hard. And as a person that's has that creative mindset, like a musician, if it doesn't work out, it's like it's like that moment where you just kind of like lose yourself. And so I kind of lost myself in putting all my effort into one project and then it just tanking and then the financial losses. So it's just taken time to come back from it all.
Well, and I mean, this is a good chat because there's a thing in the franchise world called duplication. And basically, duplication is if you do it once, you teach somebody to do it the exact same way, and you'll have success, and you'll have success, you'll have success. So you're in a sense trying to do that. So what I do, I wouldn't call it duplicatable because some of it's my personality, some of it is how I attack going after contacts. But you could help somebody like me through your program because you gave me access today and I was looking at it. Um, and I liked what I saw. You can chart events, you can chart contacts, you can chart follow ups. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. Um, where do you see this going? Like, is there going to be for you to go out there and pitch it to people to get money behind it? Are you going to self fund it again? What are you looking to do with it, Aaron?
Well, right now I'm just starting off with self-funding to get it to where I can start bringing users on. So right now, I was just talking to my developers. We're going to add some AI matching type of software. So as users start coming on, it will understand, AI writing in there for articles because the articles that are platform on the inside is set up more like a news. So, and less like a blog, which means it's going to have a slug that pulls up and pulls through differently. And so we're going to add some different AI stuff in that to do that to make it easier. And AI is a great tool. It has a darker side too, but like the I think for people for certain things, it makes things a little easier to be able to have that. And so my right now is to get a base amount of users just either in there for free so they can kind of chat with each other, and slowly get some paying customers in there. And then eventually I will try to find my goal after over the year is to find some new affiliates that go along with because there's affiliate, you can become an affiliate or you can become a partner. There's for people that like to do promote bars, there's tournament type of software for like bar games or softball or all types of different sporting events. And that type of stuff I made it to be able to for people to have access to those types of things where they can build their own database off of a database and share it and network in the whole system. So my goal is to eventually go out, maybe find some venture capital money or find the right partner in it who's interested in making it a little bit larger, and find the affiliates, alcohol sponsors or uh, whoever those might be. Maybe it's a celebrity or a guitarist or a band, you know what I mean? And find the right people to start slowly progressing it with through marketing to the next level. And that's the hardest thing when you've put your own effort into a project and then to progress it to the next level. That's one of the most challenging things where you're like on the cusp where things are going good, you have some users, the platform's still new, so it once it gets some users and people are in there, built profiles and stuff like that. Some of the edits we're going to do is to make it for international for people like in Canada, Mexico, maybe Europe. Um, we just haven't gotten that in there yet, and so we just talked about that today because uh, it's that's one of the frustrations that I had was to not have that whole access to be able to build my own database and take control of my own career as a promoter or event promoter at that time. And so I think artists should be able to do it and create their own. They can do it they can market themselves through social media, but they can also why in there you have to kind of whittle through and see what pops up and you have to really kind of know how to do it. This way, it's all the like-minded people that are in the industry for those things, and as it builds as a community, you can then share it onto social media and do that type of stuff.
So you're talking about something very interesting because social media is one of those things where um, people that don't know what it actually is capable of just look at sheer numbers and go, "Oh my gosh, this guy's got a million followers," but they don't realize there might be a million people that followed somebody, but very few of them might go back and actually find anything interesting that they repeatedly do. So therefore, their follower number might be high, but their actual real followers is low, right? Um,
Yeah,
so you'll start to see things like, you know, I don't know, like I get this all the time. Somebody's like, "Oh, you should talk to blah 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 because they've got X amount on their YouTube." Yeah, but they teach ducks to dance in the water. I don't do that. What am I doing? You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
what I see what you're doing is for somebody like me to be able to go find like-minded people, talk to them, brainstorm, and come up with ideas for each other to kind of further the
yeah,
game.
and that's what the platform is meant for, is to chat with them, put them into your database. And, they're one of the things I want to do. You can upload your own CSV stuff in there, and then you have your own. So if you have your own database that you already have, personally, like I have one too, and then you use what I've also already put in there, then now you're working with double what you had. And as people come on as a user for it, you're able to send them a chat, look at their profile, um, and see if there's somebody you can work with. And then if there's some AI there, then if you get a bunch of users on there, then it'll start matching. If you're just a rock guy, like me, my genre is really diverse. But for someone that's just a blues guy or a rock guy, you don't necessarily have to jump too far out of your genre if you're trying to, like, if you need a guitar player or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it'll match you up with all the guitar players. And that's why we designed it the way we did, so people can ideally match it with what their need is. If they're a promoter, they're going to need alcohol sponsors. If they're a band and they lose a guitar player and they need another guitar player, they can search it. So being a new platform, you still kind of build towards that, but that's really why we built it the way that we did, so you could build and take control of your own career as a musician or an artist in any form. And then if you do your own events, and you can reach out to those people too.
So here's what I got immediately because I mean, I was one of those guys who I didn't get onto Facebook until late because to be perfectly honest with you, my kind of vision of Facebook was there's going to be that person that I didn't want to see from 20 years ago that finds me. You know what I mean? So I stayed away from it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I'd be on LinkedIn and I'd be networking with people on LinkedIn. But the one thing I found about LinkedIn was that, and again, just take this. Anybody that's watching can take this for what they. But there was almost like a pretentiousness where if I didn't have 18 letters behind my name, people wouldn't have anything to do with me. I did get on Facebook and then I got an Instagram, and I found as my socials were building, different sorts of social media platforms attract different sorts of people. But what you're going to have is almost like a link tree thing where it just goes into one funnel, and then you can pick and choose who you want to talk to based upon all the data that goes in.
Yeah, based on what your needs are. Because so if it'll that's the way it is for stuff that has to do for that niche for events and talent. Because as so it's specifically it's almost like an agency type platform. You know how I'm sure you know agents, but like
Yeah, I
when
do.
they so when you have agents, they have okay, this is the person's portfolio and this is what he's doing, and then they try to match it. So that's basically what you're getting is you're getting your own uh profile to create your own type of agency where it mixes the right people. So if you're a promoter, you need alcohol sponsors and models and I don't know whatever you happen to do for your event, whatever the you know when you're a musician, you need booking agents, right? You need venues, you need booking agents, you need festivals, you need you know and so and then so that's but if you lose a guitar player, if you need a fill in, ideally it's going to be a funnel where it starts matching for the individual user for their genre based on what they put in.
when
And that's what it's for.
when you sent me the info and I started going through, I got it right away because I was a big proponent of contact management when I worked in corporate sales. I'm a big proponent of the analytics that you can get through social media because you know people they're not 100% accurate. I mean, like I've had an argument with somebody, they are, well, they're not, because I can go into YouTube and I can see some things in YouTube Studio that's not 100% accurate. That being said, it's a good kind of finger on the pulse of what's going on. um, what I like about what you're doing is it really meets the user kind of at the level that they're at. So it's I don't have to have a degree in computer engineering. But if I'm super smart, I don't feel like there's like a little cartoon character leading me around. So you really have a well-rounded platform that you're putting together.
Yeah, basically what it is, it's for individual use. So you're building your own network and database, but you have access to looking at other users that start coming on and a full database that's in there. And if you want to do ticketing, the ticketing's there. And if you want to post your event, you post your event. And if you want to write an article about what you're doing, like a blog, you can do it. Like most people you have to set up a whole blog, WordPress. This one, you just set it up and it pretty much keywords it, does it all. You put your banner in, you put your slug in, you put where it's at and location and time. It's a little bit different to use because it's set up for like if I was news reporter, right? So there's a headline, there's a banner. So the banner pops up, the slug kind of pulls it out when it comes to Google. So it's really setting it up for the individual profile to create its own SEO, if that makes sense. So
100%.
as you start putting it in there, you have the banner and the slugs and the uh, it all leads back to the going to happen. But when it Google pulls it, it's pulling up information just as if it was news. It's like
Um,
its own news it's like its own news um, platform. And it's kind of there's a platform called Notified that does press releases. And so I was eventually one of the goals was to go back to them so everybody has an opportunity to maybe be able to do their own press releases. And those can be fairly expensive, but after over time, they do help when you do them the right way. And but that's why this platform is kind of similar to that, but we've built it for its individual profile as
so this is important. I need to do this because you get the doubters and they go, okay, why am I going to listen to Aaron? Who the heck is Aaron? Well, I'm going to tell you who the heck Aaron is. Okay, so listen up here. Just give me a second. So he was the independent sales and public relations manager for Paris Hilton Footwear. Say what you want. She was a major brand. A major brand. You worked with that. Collaborations with brands like Vintage Havana. Dama Tequila, Runway Live. Okay, and it's not just a brand strategist. Aaron is also a music and talent manager working with musicians like Autumn Sky, who's from the Sacramento area. And you had a hand at working with somebody by the name of Kim Kardashian, which somebody might have heard of. So if anybody says, who is Aaron? That's who Aaron is. He's not kind of putting some theories together. This is based on real information that's going to be helpful. Sir,
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different artists, Baby Bash. I've done tours with Wu-Tang on their tour stuff, like tour management, setting up location, getting gigs. I've met a lot of different celebrity types all over. And so it's when it comes to the industry as a whole, I got my I was basically groomed by an actual manager who handled Playboy models and reality stars and became an agent for a company called Avalon Artists, which is probably like one of the top 10 artists agencies in LA and New York. And so an agent from there groomed me on how to uh, first of all protect the artist and their intellectual property, right? So because everybody they have to do that. So when I look at talent, I look at it from a management and talent booking and promotional side and sales, and just try to see what their individual talent is and how you have to make sure that you protect the individual talent themselves. And so because especially as you go up and you have you're building your brand because everybody as an artist is a brand, right? And so they're building their brand up and their skills and all that stuff, and they basically, you have to go out and be able to market and sell that. And so that's I think that's a skill that artists sometimes lack, and that's where the agents and the managers come in because they're always in that creative mindset, right?
right?
But to be able to be a manager and an agent and those types of people, a booking agent or a promoter, you have to be kind of really talkative and like be able to sell, right? And so I think if you find the right people on in your network, you don't have to do that as much because they're going to handle that. And sometimes that's one of the most frustrating things about being on the talent side is
Absolutely. And you know what?
finding the
I'm
right
just going to
people.
interject for a second because you say musicians are sometimes a little lax, and you're being nice, and I'm gonna say for the most part because you nailed it. Um, there's a creative side, but here's the other side, and maybe you can address this a little bit because I dealt with a situation where a couple artists that I represent had music taken down from a streaming service because they were not real streams or bots, and they weren't at all. It was total fabrication. And when I brought that up, somebody's like, "That's not possible because this is what I found out on Google." Everybody wants to go to Google and be smarter than the next guy, right? So what you're talking about here is real world stuff. It's not theories. It's not, I think. It's you've lived it, you've done it, you've seen it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I there really is I don't know how you'd want to put it. Uh there is a way to do it. There isn't any perfect way to do it, but so one of the things that I started doing when I restarted this project is a friend of mine, her name, I've known her like 20 years. Her name's Heidi Cortez. She has it's called the $3 marketing plan. I'm going to plug her because it's something I learned a lot from it.
Please.
And so she was on Howard Stern. I got to watch her write her book. We would sit on the phone, her and her boyfriend. I was friends with her boyfriend, and we would listen to her songs or her stories. And then all of a sudden, she was on a reality show and Playboy and then on Howard Stern. And Howard Stern today still remembers her, because I've reached out and I put it on there, and he puts some laughing comment, and that was 20 years ago. And so her marketing strategy that I've learned, I she has it planned out a certain way, but what I found was there is certain things that work with what she is putting out there. And so that's one of those things where maybe you're doing, she does like a guidebook and this and that. There is formulas on how to motor through the industry to make money, but there is no set guide. There is a set ways that do it, but there's no set. It doesn't, you can go from here to go to here to go to here, go to here. It really depends on what you're doing. And so going back to where you're talking about, they took it down because of it was, a different type, it wasn't real streaming. And I don't know if that's really like, I'd have to really know a little bit more about, can you tell me more about
Yeah,
why they did
absolutely.
that?
So basically, and you can go actually you can go on and see. I don't want to name it because
Yeah,
the
yeah, it doesn't
platform because,
matter.
but basically what happens is if somebody starts to get a little bit more attention and the song goes like this, they have the ability based upon their own internal analytics to say no, it's got to be bots because it went up too fast. Now, a major can do that. They wouldn't look at anything. They wouldn't question it. But if they see somebody as like a minor or an indie artist, they will flag it and they will take it down. And there's no grievance. There's no whatever. It's just one day it's there, the next day it's not.
Because they're basing it on an algorithm. And a
Right.
lot of that's what they're doing. And they're not, and unfortunately, what I found versus working with the indie artists so I've done a lot of events with like where I got involved with film commissions and the in like schools, you know what I mean? And those are a
Yeah.
lot of indie people. And so what I found was the majors, it's a money thing for one. We know that. And a brand recognition and the pull that they have. Um, but I found that because I only know this because when it comes to social media, they do like flag stuff on all kinds of stuff that for mine or for anybody, and then when I hit them up, they're like, no, like it's just an algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have to monitor it somehow, and how they look at something. See, the music's different because you can actually pay other people to write your music and then you perform it. And that's like when you go to NAM. You go to NAM, there's all these old rockers and producers, and they're the ones who wrote the songs for the artist, right?
Yeah.
So how they do that, I'm not really sure, but for me, it sounds like an algorithm and a money thing. And and I don't know if they would keep doing that, but it's also um that's to me that's what it sounds like is what was going on just from a technical and a management side.
Yeah, I mean, it
Um
happened. It happened. So I work with a number of artists, and I mean, I've been fortunate to get really good numbers, and it happened twice. And then the other thing that they were talking about is that one of the platforms will actually use AI generated music. So they'll go and they'll pick a profile that's on their platform. They'll do AI generated music and then they'll attach it to that artist. And the idea is that it'll take streams away from, and it's not because they think somebody's bigger. They're just trying to move the ball around the playground, right?
yeah, so here's an example of kind of what I see. So I I'm planning on doing a book kind of about after things have gotten better with the platform and all that, about how I kind of got there and the comeback and all that. And one of the things I found is I started doing in video with my blogs, and there's a copyright in there, right? When you create an in video from whatever, and then I started uploading them into YouTube, and YouTube says you can't use it,
Yeah,
but I'm the one that bought the copyright.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So that's one of those things with an algorithm they wouldn't know. And so I'm not going to fight it with them because it's not that big of a deal. But the reason I'm doing those types of things is a way for, so when you're doing like a storytelling or a documentary or a book or or like something for your band, right? You kind of have to plan it out. So my way of doing that is writing the blogs, taking screenshots, uploading blog videos into YouTube about my life and the things that have gone on. And I kind of do it as a spoof because the industry can be kind of harsh,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean, in life. And I find laughter makes it helps you get through it. And so that's one of the things that I've found that helps me get through. And one of the, just going back to what you're talking about, is one of the things that I found that their algorithm wouldn't know, right? They wouldn't know that I'm the one who took a blog, put it into an app, got the copyright for the blog from my story into an in video and put it onto their page. And so for when it comes to streaming, music would be the same thing.
Yeah, and I
And
mean, and the
so
problem is, and you know this, Aaron, anybody can be an expert because they can go find something on Google, and instead of going to somebody that's actually done it, they want to take, somebody that they don't know as opposed to somebody that they do know and take that as the gospel and then go, oh no, you're wrong, you're wrong.
yeah,
You know how it works, right? It's just the way it is.
yeah, totally.
Um, so we got to bounce here because you know as well as I do, but people's attention spans are brutally, pathetically short.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So I want them to focus on what we talked about. But you're looking for users. So for my people that are going to watch this, what would you want them to do? Would you want them to reach out to you? What would be next steps for these folks?
For right now, I think the best thing partly would be to email me
Okay.
and or send a text and I would want them to start creating profiles, meaning pick if they're a talent, if they want to be an affiliate, if they're like a venue, or if they want to just be a general user, um, and basically create a profile, put their photos on, and they don't have to necessarily go and start upping their tier until there's more users in there. But if they need to use a database, and that's there, we'll eventually start marketing, doing some discounts, and we'll help some people progress once I find the right people to team up with that are passionate about what we're doing. And and then we'll basically team up and help those people. So and that might mean getting venues, getting extra contacts, you know what I mean? And so that's really what would help me at this point, is to have people create their profiles, put their photos on, their bios, their information, and kind of fiddle around in the platform a little bit, and just kind of wait and start slowly watching the users come on. And you know what I mean? And if they want me to guide them through, then they can reach out to me and email or phone number,
So we'll put all that
by calling
information
me.
when we post this. But one of the things that I'm going to say, and I'm going to say this, so I just met Aaron through Raquel, but he and I have been talking quite a bit. And what I'm going to encourage everybody to do is reach out to him because this gentleman, I, I I love the line that we've both used. Everybody loves a comeback because, like you, I was also a guy out of frustration to quit the business for a period of time, and was both remorseful but glad I did it because I learned some new things. So what I'm going to tell you about Aaron is you're going to go want to check his platform out because he is the real deal when it comes to this stuff. He's a doer. He's not a theory guy. So I want to thank you for being on this little old thing that we call Rim Shots with Sean, my friend. And you
Yeah,
and I are going to, yeah, go ahead.
one of the things I can tell you is that I'm not a tech guy, so I'm not basing it on algorithms and anything else. I'm basing it on real world, being out there from the past, learning from the mistakes and what I needed and what I've seen a lot of other people need,
It's the way
not
it
from
should
the
be.
theory of using the technical stuff.
It's the way it should
That's
be.
just a tool.
Thank you for doing this, my friend. And
I
you know,
appreciate you.
yeah, I appreciate you too, my friend. We're going to be staying in touch. Ciao.
Later.